Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a talking head thing, and I'll kind of get into why here in a second, but more than anything else, just I'm trying to incorporate some of this back into the channel, just because it's been a while since I've done some of that, and this I figured was as good an opportunity as any. So I'm recording this on Sunday just before I go make some dinner, warm some stuff up, but the reality of it is that one of the things that I do commonly on the channel, one of the regular video staples, is always the pickup videos. And I know it's been a little while, so I know some other folks have subscribed to the channel more recently, so I thought I would quickly talk about that. The reason I do the pickup videos is really, and I talked about this on the live stream briefly, is that really what it comes down to is that it's kind of a record-keeping thing. It's not really for views, because honestly, they don't get amazing views. There are some people that are curious about stuff that I end up picking up, which is great. So I try to talk through some of the cards, but really more than anything else, it's just a record-keeping thing, so that at the end of the year, when I try to do like my favorite pickups of the year, I might not remember if I grabbed something last November at the expo, or if it happened in January of this year through eBay or whatever, or maybe a ship my cards mail day or something like that happened. The reality is after a while, stuff starts to blur together. You really start losing track. You might remember the card, but you might not remember exactly when you picked it up. You might even remember the circumstances under which you got it. But if you record it, you've got a little bit of a time capsule, because usually I'll either explain something about the card, or maybe there's something specific about when I ended up grabbing it. So I can include that in the video and have a record so that I can go back and watch it. And then basically at the year end, I just go through for the first pickup video all the way through the end, and then I know exactly what I got from the beginning of the year to the end, and that also allows me to kind of keep track of the progression. So when I do the updates to the Mike Modano count on that collection, it allows me to see what it looked like in the beginning of the year and see what it looked like at the end of the year, and I can see the progress from one to the other, and it allows me to just kind of keep track for myself. For folks that enjoy it, I always appreciate when someone comments or has questions or anything about that, because I'm happy to talk about it. But at the same thing, more than anything else, it's just for record keeping, just so I can keep tabs of it. But then what happens is if I've got a week where I only picked up one card, it becomes kind of weird to justify, like, okay, so do I make a video about one card? How long is that going to take? The explanation will not take very long, but then there's not much other video to include. So sometimes I'll do, if the opportunity presents itself, I'll combine two things, and that's what we're going to do with this one. So I'm going to show you the card, I'll briefly talk about it, and then we'll do a little story time with Carlos to kind of include the rest of the video, and we'll have a little bit of fun. So a little bonus Sunday video to you. The podcast will be recorded on Monday, and then it'll drop on Tuesday on the channel, and then the live streams will be back to the regular cadence. One other thing at the end, actually, I'll have a question for you about the live stream, because I do have a question, and if you do listen to the end of the video, I'd love to get your feedback on it, but we'll see how things go. So first, this is from 2009, 2010. This one actually came on eBay through Slab Sharks. I don't buy a lot of stuff from Slab Sharks, but because they do consignment, some good stuff does come across. This one I actually bought during the expo. I did show this on the live stream, but I'll do this here for this independent video. And my lighting situation is a little weird today. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. My one lamp kind of burned out, so this one here, the one that's super bright kind of in the corner, it hasn't lasted very long. It's kind of an LED light, so kind of when it burned out, I was like, what the heck are we doing? So I'm using the other lamp today. So anyway, so this one here is actually Jamie Benn rookie year, which will come into play on the card. And it is the cup, which is great. So it's a triple patch. So let me see if I can show that to you. Get a little of the glare off. So this is out of 10. And this is Modano and Jamie Benn and Brad Richards. And as you can see, two of them are they're all multicolored patch pieces. But the Modano is a 2-color piece, the Jamie Benn is a 3-color piece, and then the Brad Richards has got a bunch of blue going on because that's a Tampa Bay Lightning patch. Still looks very nice there in the middle of it. But I got two of my PC guys together, and this is actually out of 10. So you can probably make that out a little bit there. Hopefully it's not too bad. So anyway, cool card. I was able to pick it up very reasonable price. Let's see if my focus can get the cop back up. Perfect. So anyway, cool card. Was able to add that to the collection, and it's nice when you can connect two different player PCs into one card. So that's going to be the case here. And actually, kind of a side question. Kind of curious for any of you who do any player collecting. So this obviously is two different player PCs that I have. I'm only going to get one card, and this is going to go in the box with the cup stuff for my Mike Modano collection. But I also have a box where I've got a bunch of different Jamie Benn cards. So here's a question. And this is Jamie Benn rookie year, as I mentioned earlier. So if you had something like this, would you actually try to get two cards to kind of have one for each collection? Or would you be satisfied to be able to kind of mark one off a checklist and then also kind of indirectly mark it off a checklist for the other one? I don't really have a checklist for the Jamie Benn one, but I'm just curious if you would count this as a card for both collections, or if you would only count it for the one collection that it gets stored with. So I'm just kind of, that's a open question. I'd just be curious kind of your take on how you would approach something like that. To me, I'm not going to bother. I don't need a second copy. I'm satisfied having one, and I'll put that in the box with the other Cup Modano cards, so that's fine with me. And it's a Jamie Benn card as well, so I'm completely content having that as part of the rookie year collection for Jamie Benn. So that's cool. Anyway, so that's the important piece. So let me do a quick update. Mike Modano count. That new edition was the last card, I believe, of April. So to finish off April 2025, we're sitting at 2,771 different Mike Modano cards with 356 autographs that didn't add to it, 688 memorabilia cards. So we're getting close to 700 memorabilia cards, so that's pretty good. And then we're slowly chipping away, heading towards 2,800 unique cards. So that's a nice addition to the collection. We'll see what the next while comes up. Shipping wise, I've got to figure out what I'm going to end up doing with ComC stuff. I do have some stuff there that I would love to get my hands on, but I might have to do a little bit of a workaround. So let me see how that goes, and then we'll kind of play by ear. And then ship my cards will definitely happen in the next while. I think I'm waiting for 1 or 2 other cards, and then maybe I'll do shipment. And again, same thing. I've got some good stuff there, but a lot of it's going to wind up on the wrestling channel. So it'll wind up on the other channel that's usually a link is in the description. If you are curious, I do have pickup videos on there as well. Similar reasons, it's just for tracking purposes, something that I like to do because, again, it's easier for me to visually see it and be able to kind of track it over time and then see it. I don't want to keep a whole database of just pickups because it would get kind of crazy after a while. Anyway, so that's it for that. That concludes the pickup portion of the video. If that's all you're interested in checking out, thanks for checking out the video. More videos coming up on the channel. Live streams on Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The long running episodic, whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. There's my send off. If that's all you're interested in, you're off to check out the next video. Hopefully you check out another video on the channel. I'd appreciate it. Also hit the like button because Eric pays for it. So thank you for that. Now, if you did decide to stick around, I do want to talk a little story time with Carlos because I got an opportunity. And I'll give a quick background on it. I have talked about it on the podcast, but I'll reiterate it here just so that I can kind of explain the background and that'll play into it. I got a chance yesterday, the day before that I'm recording this. So I'm recording this on Sunday, and on Saturday, I got a chance to go to my first baseball game, my first Blue Jays game, probably in about 6 or 7 years, give or take. I know it was before COVID, so I'm not sure specifically when it was. I want to say it was 2018. That sounds about right to me. Feels about right. Because I don't remember if I actually attended any games where Vladdy Jr. was playing yet. I don't think he was on the team yet the last time I was at the Dome. So anyway, to make a very long story short, give a quick background, I have attended tons of games at the Dome. If you've listened to the live stream, you know about this. Usually in the corner of the image, I think it's off screen right now, but if you saw a little bit further that way, there's a box. People always ask me about the box with the Jays logo on it. It's actually from a 2013 season ticket package. I was a season ticket holder for the one season. So that was my 30th birthday, and I treated myself to getting a season ticket package. And what you got for that, it was about $600, give or take. And you actually got a starter jacket. Obviously, you get tickets to all the games. You got some perks, discounts, and everything. It was very cool, very good. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but it was fun. Over the years, I've actually attended probably in upwards of 300, 350, maybe getting close to 400 games. I don't know the exact amount, but definitely a ton, because there were a lot of years where I attended 20 to 30 games a year. Well, first game that I attended was in 1991. You can start doing a little quick, napkin math, and you can start figuring out that I've attended a lot of games over the year at the Dome. But it had been a lot of years since. I did a video where I kind of talked about that a little bit and gave kind of the rationale why. And really what it came down to make a long story short there, is that it was a combination of cost and time. Time more than cost, to be honest, because no, I could totally make, set some money aside and definitely attend the games. But it's just the appeal has diminished over the years. Attending the thing in person doesn't mean as much to me, and my time has become more of a premium. So therefore, if I'm going to do something, I really want to have a good reason to do it, or I really have to feel like something's pulling me in that direction. And what's interesting about this, though, is that in reality, my appreciation for baseball or my love of baseball has not diminished in any way. The Major League Baseball thing, I don't connect the two. Major League Baseball is a form of baseball, but that doesn't mean that if I don't watch Major League Baseball, I'm not interested in baseball. I used to attend a lot of Buffalo Bison's games, AAA affiliate of the team. And now leading into this story, one of the things that I have followed over the last several years, a little bit less again, it's been a little quiet since COVID, but one of the things that I was doing for quite a bit there is I watched some games in person of the Inter-County Baseball League. So I've touched on this, I believe, on the live stream and on the podcast. And that's where these tickets came from. So basically what happened was they had done a promotion. And I have attended inter-county baseball games before, but our local team, I guess now, I actually had a more local team before, but the local team is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, if that sounds familiar, that is the same name as the hockey team. But if you go back in history, it's actually reversed. The Toronto Maple Leafs Baseball Club predates the hockey team, and the hockey team was named after them, including the same colors and everything. So I'll quickly show you. I've got one of the hats here. So if you can see, that's the logo for the baseball team, and obviously you can see the color and everything. So the namesake, the color scheme, and a lot of this was borrowed and taken over to the hockey team. Obviously, the hockey team is extremely popular in Toronto and everything, but this is the baseball team. It represents them. And that's the IBL, and that is the logo kind of for the league. So it's semi-pro baseball. And there are professional players over the years who have played. Rob Butler played back in the day, and he was a Blue Jay player as well. I think this year, Fernando Rodney if you're familiar with him. Is actually playing for, I think, the Hamilton team. So the point is they've got all these different teams scattered throughout, mostly on, I think, Ontario entirely. So it's Ontario here. It's inter-county baseball is what it's called. And I used to attend a bunch of different games. I'd take Carlos Sr. out to a couple of games there. So there was a more local team to me, because where I am is in Mississauga, which is a suburb of Toronto. But what happens is we're outside of Toronto. So they would actually had a team called the Mississauga Twins, which then eventually became the Burlington Twins. So it was moved over to a city nearby. And I actually never got a chance to attend Mississauga Twins games. I actually watched a little bit on what's called Rogers Community Cable. So it's the cable conglomerate, would have the local stations. So it's called Rogers Community Cable. Basically, really cheap programming on there that they would put on there, but they would occasionally show the odd inter-county baseball game. And I would watch a little bit of that. But when I finally got a chance to attend it in person, it was after they had actually moved the team to Burlington. So they were the Mississauga Twins, and they became the Burlington Twins. Now, this team has had quite the history of name changes. It's been very interesting. Then they became the Burlington Twins. Then they became the Burlington Bandits. And then I think there was one more name. I could be mistaken, Burlington. Before then, they moved the franchise again, and they moved it out to Welland. So now they're the Welland Jackfish, which is out near St. Catharines. You know, it's kind of near Niagara Falls, thereabouts. Like, it's a whole thing. Anyway, but apparently they're doing very well as the Welland Jackfish. So my team, quote unquote, got moved to another city, then got moved to another city, and has had multiple name changes. They were the Twins, the Bandits, and I want to say it was something else. So anyway, regardless, I attended the games where they were Burlington, one with Carlos Sr. It was very fun. Again, I still enjoy baseball, is my point. So it was just kind of funny. Now, what does all this have to do with anything related to the story that I'm trying to get at? Again, it's a story time. So the idea here is that I had known about the Toronto Maple Leafs for years. Obviously, it's part of inter-county, and I'd watched games, so I knew of these teams, and I'd attended games, and I enjoyed them quite a bit. But I came across an Instagram ad of all things, and basically the Instagram ad said that Toronto Maple Leafs were having what they call these season memberships. Now, I'd never looked into it because the Toronto team, even though the Toronto team, obviously, I'm in a suburb, so it's not like I can't get to those games. It is a little bit of a trek, a hike, but basically you get to Union Station, that'll take you probably about 35, 40 minutes, and then another 20 minutes or so. So it's about a 1 hour round trip, a 1 hour trip one way, and then 2 hour round trip. So it's a time investment. But if you do so, you can go to where it's called Christie Pitts. And that location is where they put the diamond that they've got on there with the setup and everything. And it's actually public park, so it is free to attend. So in reality, you could go for free and just go watch the baseball game. And I think the league runs about 40, 42 games a year, so probably about 21 home games, give or take. And a lot of them on Saturdays and Sundays, some on Fridays, and there's some midweek games and such. But the point is you can go and watch some baseball. And again, semi-pro, you've got some former professional players that are there, some players that are maybe trying to play a little bit to potentially get some tape and be able to go and play in other leagues, other players who did play in the major leagues that are playing there. So you've got a good competitive baseball. If you enjoy the game, it's a very fun way to watch it. And again, if you're there at the right time and everything, you can go watch a baseball game with some good players playing for free, literally. And then maybe you pay for some concessions, and that's about the expense and the cost. Now, that's all well and good. What does that have to do with me attending the first Blue Jay game that I've attended in years and years? Now we're going to bring it all full circle. So I see this ad, I see this posting, and what they're showing is these season memberships. And what that happens is, this is a way kind of supporting the team directly by buying these memberships. So there's two levels. There's the blue membership, which is $199, and then there is the gold membership, which is $300. Now, what do you get for these? You do get some giveaways, some perks and such. So for the gold membership, what you actually get is you actually get a jersey, which is nice. I have my copy of the jersey there. It's actually very nicely done. I had actually bought a jersey beforehand because I thought they looked nice. But it turns out the sizing was all wrong. So you got to go one size bigger than you think you do. But the second one, I got the correct sizing. So I got this correct size jersey, and obviously I bought that hat. But regardless, so I've got this thing. So you pick the jersey you want. Great. You get that sent for free. Awesome. And then in addition to that, you also get a little card. So you get the jersey, and then you get a little card. So there's your Toronto Maple Leafs card. So hopefully that appears correctly. It looks reversed to me, but hopefully it's fine. But anyway, so it says, thank you for supporting the 2025 Toronto Maple Leafs baseball team. Please find and enclose your 2025 gold membership. So nice and simple. Little card that they put together. Hopefully that's clear. Yep. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. Anyway, so you get that. And then really, there's not a lot to the package. You get a couple of things. So you get your membership card. So you got that on there. So there's a membership card. Cool. So with my name on it and everything. So that's neat. And then at the same time, you also get what's called the 2025 Road Pass. So the season ticket holder Road Pass. So there you go. So let's see if we can get that to focus. So there you go. So what this is, let's see if I can fix that. There we go. So anyway, what this is actually is that it admits one person to any 2025 Toronto Maple Leafs regular season away game. So what this is with this little pass, if you want to go to one of the other teams in the other location and the Toronto Maple Leafs are having a game, so it's a road game for them, but a home game for the other team, you're entitled to 1 ticket for each one of these memberships. So it's kind of a fun little perk. They've got some teams located in a couple of places that I would maybe consider going and attending a game. So that's kind of fun. So anyway, why did I buy this? Twofold. One is I thought it was kind of fun. I could have just bought the jersey. It would have been less expensive. However, the jersey there being is a nice perk. What the ad included was that if you're one of the first 40 people to buy that gold membership, you would get seats to a Toronto Blue Jays game in May, which is the game I attended yesterday, as part of a luxury suite. I was like, oh, interesting. So that right there is a really cool value and kind of fun. So I looked at that and I gave it a little bit of thought and I was like, that could be kind of fun. I would kind of enjoy that and give me an excuse to go attend the Jays game. So I ended up doing that. I bought the membership and I confirmed with them and everything. Yep, you're one of the first 40, congratulations and everything. Yep, we'll get that sent over to you. So here's basically fast forwarding. Here's what that ended up looking like. It's a digital ticket, like in everything else. Now it's all digital. I do wish that they had been a physical ticket. I would love to have it as a souvenir. So basically, this was my experience. And what I'm going to do is I will share a couple of pictures with you. So as I put it up on my screen so I can describe it to you. So if I end up describing something specific, I will put it on the screen so that you can see exactly the picture that I'm looking at, so you'll know exactly what I'm referring to. So anyway, basically, I get this ticket sent to me digitally. I get it, and it ends up being something that I put in the Apple Wallet on my phone. So something that I actually hadn't done before. I've had an iPhone for a while now, but I've never actually tried to use the Apple Wallet for anything. Simple enough. Once I got it on there, it took me a little bit of finagling to figure out exactly how I needed to transfer it. But once I did, I had it on the phone, which is great. So I go down to the Dome. Very familiar with the Trek at this point. So I got my new jersey on, and I got a Jays hat, mix and matching. So I go there early just to make sure that I can get down. And I've got my ticket in hand on my phone. Kind of interesting. So I get down there and I go to the usual haunts. And first thing that strikes me, first thing that occurs to me is walking through the mass of humanity trying to get in, because they ended up getting about 40,000 for the game, so very good attendance to it, is that I don't miss trying to work my way through people that don't understand how to walk in a straight line to go to a stadium. Because it's the same stadium. I've been going to this stadium since 1991, so I've attended many a game at this location. So I know how to get there 14 ways from Sunday. From every conceivable angle. So, but some people really are troubled with, walking down a sidewalk in a straight line because apparently it's difficult. And they just kind of stand there going like, and it's just very annoying. You have to kind of bob and weave your way around. So anyway, I get past these people. And one of the first perks immediately hits me. Because this is, a luxury, a box seat. I don't know what this is going to entail. I know it's a box seat and like what they call the TD executive suites. Very fancy. TD is one of the banks here. But what happens is, I don't know too much more about it. I know which gate I need to go to, so we got that covered. So I ended up going all the way around because I didn't know exactly, I had lost the orientation of which way the gates were. So anyway, I was on the wrong side. So I ended up going all the way around, so I'm getting my steps in. I go all the way around, I go to gate 13. That's where they got it on there. Lucky 13. So I walk in, nobody there in line. You're going to the suites, so you don't have to deal with as much of a mass of humanity. You've got a pretty straightforward line. Really, the only thing is that the security guard wants to make sure you actually have a ticket. So they say, kind of looking at you, like, are you actually supposed to be here? You show the thing on there. It says, yep, it's got the thing for the premium, and this is going to come into play in a second. So you got that on there. And they go, okay, go ahead. Open the door for you. You walk in. Everybody's just there. Like, there's a handful of people there just to take care of anything, but really there's not that much for them to do other than wait for people to come in. And I got there early anyway. That was kind of my plan. So they say, yep, here you go if you want to just scan that. So it's, again, just on this Apple Wallet thing. So literally it's just scanning it based on the chip that's inside the phone. So literally I just do that. The thing goes from red to green and my ticket is accepted. We're done. Okay, fine. So you walk in. And then I get my stadium giveaway, because this is a stadium giveaway. For the Saturday game, they had a stadium giveaway, and that is this. Check it out. So you got this hat. I don't know if you're too familiar with this, but this is a Minecraft hat. You can see the Jays logo on it. And it is for the Minecraft movie. There's that. So there's a hat. First 15,000 get their Minecraft hat. So there's my Minecraft hat. Okay. So anyway, I didn't know there was a Minecraft movie. Apparently Jack Black is in it. So, and trust me, they played plenty of promos for it. So I did hear about this over the course of the game, that there was a Minecraft movie that Jack Black is in it. In theaters soon or whatever it was. So that was the theme of the night. So free hat, whatever. So free hat, I'll take it. Then the game begins, because Again, I haven't attended one of these things in a suite ever. I've been at different levels. I've been up at the 500 level. I've been at the 100 level. I've attended this side, that side, gone different directions in different ways in there, but I've never gone to the section. And really all it is you go up to the suites, you go in through, and what happens is once you get upstairs and you get into it, you go straight through, and once you go straight through, you're faced with this long corridor. And there's not much to it. There's just a long corridor, and I walk forward and I look and I go, okay. And again, the ticket doesn't say much. It says what gate to go into, and it confirms that it's a ticket. But then you're looking at it, and if you don't pay attention, like, it does say premium, but you don't, if you've never been to one of these things, you have no way of interpreting that. Like, what does that actually mean in terms of that? So I start walking. I start turning to the right. I start walking down this long hallway. And I keep walking by all these doors, and all the doors are labeled. You know, you got 351 or 352, whatever. So you got all these different numbers, and beside them you got either a Blue Jay logo on there or a company logo, I guess, that they have that particular suite. So hopefully you're getting this is story time with Carlos. You're getting your mileage on this one. So anyway, so I'm walking in a straight line, and I'm looking through all these different ones, and I'm seeing them, and I'm trying to figure out, am I supposed to be looking for a logo? Am I supposed to be looking for something that's clearly labeled? Like, what am I looking for here? Now, what's interesting is because you're up at the suite level, what happens is this is the same level as where the media thing is. So I actually walked by the media center. That's where all the beat writers and beat reporters go in. That's their, that's their suite that overlooks the field and everything. So I'm walking by that, and I'm also walking by the broadcast booth. And what's funny is, as I'm walking by, I pass by a bunch of different people that work there, but, kind of pro tip in life is that if you walk like you know where you're going, people just kind of assume you know where you're going. And at this point, I'm walking by and nobody's assuming anything. I'm just there. I got my Jays hat on and, a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey on, it's all, and I'm wearing a jacket, not dissimilar to this, but it's an actual jacket. So I'm walking, and I'm basically trying to figure out where I'm supposed to be going. And as I'm walking through, I'm getting my steps in. I walk all the way down, and I end up passing Dan Schulman, who is one of the play-by-play guys. So I think he does ESPN and also does Sportsnet. I end up walking by him twice, by the way. So on the way there, I pass by him once, and I'm just walking, and I end up all the way at the other end. And there's another entrance there similar to the first one, but again, I'm sitting there like, okay, I haven't figured it out. So at this point, I'm just going to ask. Like, okay, I got this ticket, can you interpret this for me? Where am I supposed to be? And they're like, oh, yeah, that's the premium suite. Okay, so there is a specific premium suite. Awesome. And it's like, oh, it's on the exact opposite side. So you just keep going all the way to the end. And I'm like, oh, okay, so I am going to get my steps in today. So I end up going all the way back around. Again, I passed down Shulman. Apparently he was getting a sandwich, and now he's getting a sandwich and going into do his broadcast. I should have just volunteered to go in. I could have called a couple innings for him. I'll help you out. Let me give you a hand. So anyway, I walk by him for the second time, and I walk past the media center and everything. I could have written some articles, could have helped out. So anyway, I walk all the way to the other end, and I get there, and finally I find this premium suite. And it is labeled as such, but it's literally, instead, if I hadn't gone right, and I just gone left, it was another like 10, 20 feet down that way. And it does have that label. So anyway, I open the door, and I'm one of the first ones there, fine, and I end up getting the lay of the land. So what I'll do now is, I'm going to look at it on my screen, but as I'm doing it, I'm going to share the picture with you guys. There isn't a lot to it. Like, I didn't take 100 pictures of it. So the first couple of pictures are just going to be me showing kind of the view from the field, to the field, from the box, which is actually a very nice view. You get kind of a nice angle. You can watch everything related. So the first picture here is just looking over at the field. They're still finishing up batting practice, kind of throwing the ball around. And in reality, it's just you get a nice view of the entire field itself. You're in the outfield section, but you're able to see the whole field. There is a couple of blind spots that you do have, but that's basically if somebody's hitting it out to the warning track kind of on the side you're on. So overall, very good. And then here's an angle that's on the other side. You're getting a bit of a view of it. Again, for the most part, you're getting a pretty good vantage point to be able to see everything. I'll come back to the second image, though, after, because there's a couple of fun observations I have related to this. And if you pay attention a little bit, kind of a little over left of where you're looking, there is actually TV monitors, because you do have some TV monitors included in there. Next couple are actually from inside the suite itself. So you got kind of these heating pads here. And again, never having experienced this before, I don't know what's included in this. For me, it's free. I've got a ticket, obviously. I'm invited into this thing, but I don't know what it entails. Well, what it turns out is that you got two things kind of comped for you. You actually got some popcorn and you got some pizza included, so some food was included in there, and you've got your very own kind of bar. And hopefully, I think the third picture shows it a little bit. Yeah, the third picture shows that you got some seating areas there, you got some kind of couch seats there, and you've actually got one that's kind of cut off a little bit, but you've got a couch, and then you've got some other seats there, so you can actually kind of sit there and chill and talk with people, and then also be able to kind of watch the game over the top, so you can kind of get a vantage point on that, and you got a television showing different things. At the time the game is going on, it's showing the game, and you got the TVs on both sides. And then at the very front section, you've got basically 2 rows of kind of regular kind of seats there that are inside the suite still, but are obviously looking directly over into the open space, into the field. So you're able to do that. And at the far right of this image, that's kind of your bar area. So you've got your very own kind of person who's working the bar area. So it is a cash bar. So what happens is the food is comped that's there. If you want more food or something else, then you got to go out and you go over to the concourse and you can go get whatever you want, regular lines. But if you just want to drink, well, then you're basically covered here at the cash bar. But it is a cash bar. You are going to pay for all that. And I took advantage of it and got my beers. So no lineups on beers. You're able to go get as many as you like. So I took advantage of that a little bit. So overall, very, very nice. I think it's designed to hold like 30 or 40 people. And by the time we were done, we had kind of a full house there. A lot of folks were just kind of chatting and hanging out. But I did have some nice conversations with some of the folks there because obviously it's new to me in terms of participating in this, and some of the other folks had taken advantage of it before. But it was a fun experience, I'll say. So first observation I'll make is it was a fun experience. I enjoyed it tremendously, and it added a nice value to it from the perspective of something that I hadn't done before. Second observation really comes down to the game experience itself. So for the most part, I really enjoyed the game, had a lot of fun. For the most part, it was fun to kind of socialize with some folks who were into the game. So a lot of folks were into the game. Some of the folks, like I said, kind of hung out in the suite and were just kind of chatting and doing whatever. Ended up talking to one of the guys who had actually worked with the Toronto Maple Leafs on and off for about 50 years. So kind of an interesting dude, but apparently he's one of the ticket seller guys that had been working with them for years and had also done stuff with the Blue Jays. So obviously had some kind of interesting stories related to that. So again, kind of an interesting situation, an opportunity that created. So again, the kind of the high end of it is that it was a great experience in the sense that it was an interesting opportunity, something that I hadn't had the chance to experience before. And I definitely enjoyed it. 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 would do again. Obviously nothing's perfect. It would have been nice if a beer or two had been comped, but I can't. But for free, I can't deny it. Regardless, a good time. But I think what was interesting, and one of the kind of takeaways I have from this, as interesting as it was and as cool experience as it was, and I would totally do it again. Like, let's just be clear about that. Not cash bar notwithstanding, I definitely got my money's worth out of it. You're still paying regular price for beer, though. I will say I ended up grabbing 4 of them, 1 before the game, and then 3 during the course of the game. And you're paying basically full price, like really full price. I think it ended up costing me just shy of, for the 4, it ended up costing me just shy of $80, which is obviously a lot. And that's kind of one of the things that, you don't miss about going to games at the Dome if you have the audacity to eat or drink anything, because it's not cheap. But again, it's nice that they comp the food and it was included as part of the overall package. So that was cool. And if you needed more, you could always go get it, as I mentioned earlier. But what was interesting from my perspective on it is that it also reminded me kind of why I wasn't as eager or worried about going to games in person anymore. This was a unique opportunity. And in terms of that, it created kind of a cool incentive for me to go. And again, hey, listen, free Minecraft movie hat. Like, right there. You got to go. But regardless, it reminded me kind of why I don't necessarily run out to go to those games anymore, why I hadn't gone in so many years. And COVID, like I said, was one thing, but in reality, that wasn't the real driver why I wasn't going. And it wasn't a lack of passion for baseball. I am less interested in the current team than I was in years past, but again, that isn't necessarily the reason. It just comes down to kind of a time thing and a cost thing. In this case, I may have spent $80 on my drink, but the point was, for what the experience was in a suite, and the stuff that was comped and was included as part of it made it an overall very good experience. It was worth it to me. And I didn't have to get 4 beers if I didn't want to have 4 beers, and I could have saved more money. But the truth is, going the other way, I took a look at what some of the cost was on some of the regular seats. If I want to go sit in the bleacher section in the 100 level, at this point it'd be about $60 with all the fees and everything included. So right there's 3/4 of what I basically paid for the beer, and that's without having, the seats aren't nearly as good. They're still good seats. They've created kind of an interesting experience. And actually, as I'm talking, I'll go back to one of those images that I took. And if you look here, I use this image to talk about the vantage point and everything to give you one idea. But what I really want to get across here is they have completely changed it. Since the last time I have visited, they have completely redone the entire bottom section. And that said, I want to say, I think it looks really good. But it also at the same time is kind of an indication of where things are now. And to be clear, I don't have a problem with this, but it also is an indication of the times, because obviously when they're going to do all these renovations, they're going to pay for them. And what you're seeing on this screen, if you really pay attention, is you're seeing the sheer amount of ads that are included every square inch. Like if you look, starting just on the left side, you got the Rogers logo there. Rogers is the one who owns the team, and they're also the one that own the stadium. So obviously they're going to promote themselves. But if you look on the bottom left, you got TD Bank. So that's, again, this is one of the TD executive suites. Even the suites themselves are branded in that regard. And then you got, across the bottom, Tim Hortons, Kubota, which I'm not familiar with what Kubota is, but anyway. And then in the bleachers, that's sponsored by Canada Dry. Beside Kubota, you got The Keg. Then you got Active Green and Ross. You got Sobeys, which is a supermarket chain. Then more Rogers, and directly above it, Rogers Landing, which is more Rogers. And then you go a little bit further up, you got, it says All Canadian, All Delicious. I don't remember what that is, but that's another brand for another thing. Above the Canada Dry, you have The Score, which is a former television network there. It's for the sportsbook and casino. And then if you look further up, you got the Corona Rooftop Patio. Now the Corona Rooftop Patio, well, hopefully I brought you back to me. The Corona Rooftop Patio, obviously that's the beer, but the thing is the rooftop patio was kind of right near where the old 500 section was. And those are really crummy seats back in the day. But now they've turned it into a rooftop patio. So if you're there, you don't really care. You're paying for the opportunity to be in this patio kind of environment. So what they've done is they've turned it into these different stations, these different areas. And they've created more of an environment where if you do wind up there, instead of it just being really crummy, cheap seats, you're in the rooftop patio. So, it's kind of more exciting, in that regard. And so instead of having this, blacked out seats to create a batter's eye, instead you've got stuff there. So now you can still have people, but at the same time, it still gives you a little bit of that blockage to be able to still see. So it allows the batters to be able to hit without creating too much of an issue. But I just thought it was very funny. And then going back to the image one more time, right at the end, on the right, you got the Heinz, as in the Heinz ketchup. You got a ketchup section, Club 328. So it's got its own section included there. And on the opposite side, I assure you, there's still more ads. I saw KPMG, I saw a bunch of other ones. So the point is, they've got their, at this point, they're basically like the boards in a hockey arena, or, like the Formula One racers and their fire suits and all the different patches and everything related to it. So there's an ad per square inch. Everywhere inside of the stadium, you can find some kind of an ad or a logo or something. It was just very funny and tune. So I got a kick out of it. Again, no hate on it. I understand it. I totally get it. Listen, go get your money. Do what you got to do. But I think what was interesting to me is it struck me that, number one, I thought they did a really good job renoing it, because at the end of the day, the formerly known as Skydome, and I'm not going to change the name no matter what they want to call it. To me, it's a Skydome. The Skydome is basically an old concrete donut. Really, it's this stadium, and it served its purpose, and there's really no other place that they can do what they're doing there. So realistically, they had to make the most out of it, and I think they've done a good job. I think they did a good job redoing it. I think it made for a better experience. Like if you're hanging out in some of these sections, you're probably sort of watching the game, but mostly just hanging out with friends. Like if you're at the Corona Rooftop Patio, you're probably sort of paying attention to the game, but not necessarily the whole way, which I get. Nothing wrong with that. No hate on that. But I just think it's not something that I would necessarily go and spend good money on. It's just become more expensive. I remember the bleacher seats used to be like 15, 20 bucks. And that's when I would go. I would go to those games, 15, 20 bucks. Or the 500 section was like 5 bucks, 10 bucks. Or, as I referenced before, the Toronto Star Season Ticket Pass, that was $81 for 81 games. It was a $1 game. And they would have Toonie Tuesdays, which was $2 games. So there were a lot of different discounted tickets back in the day. So I've obviously experienced it a completely different way. It's the same venue that I remember going to, but obviously we're operating in a very different way. But I can't say anything because I was enjoying it from the comfort of a suite. So again, it was kind of fun hanging out and seeing how the other half lives. The experience itself made it totally worth it to do. And obviously I ended up getting a great value. So, for the price of that gold membership, I've got that. So that whole tale, though, leaves me to kind of my conclusion on this and kind of the last piece of that puzzle. I still enjoy and I'm still passionate about the game of baseball. I still enjoy it for what it is. Major League Baseball isn't necessarily as interesting to me here now because I just don't have the same attachment to being there in person and seeing the game. Some people, it's because, these players make too much money. I don't care about that. The truth is, if I was in their shoes as well, I would try to get as much money out of it because these companies are making a ton of money. So if they're pleading poverty, they're lying. Reality is they've done a lot of these things. If Rogers could make some kind of a demand on the city to get a new stadium, they probably would, but they know it would be fall on deaf ears because there simply is no other place to put it. So it's like, use the space you got and make the most out of it, which they have, I think, for the most part. So no blame on that. It's great in a situation, though. If I was, invited, if friends really wanted to go, we could probably make it go. We'd probably we'd either go to, the sportsbook section there, or maybe the rooftop patio, or maybe the Heinz, Club 328. If we could swing it, I think it'd be kind of fun to do. But again, they've learned how to build these little experiences, and that's kind of what the modern ballpark is. But my season pass is for the inter-county baseball team. It's for the semi-pro baseball team. So next week is going to be their home opener on Sunday. And weather permitting and everything, I'm going to go there. And it's going to be a completely different experience. And I'm going to enjoy it just fine because It's actually in a public park. So again, as I mentioned, I think earlier, if you go, you can just go and check out the game for free. And if you want to buy a hot dog or a drink or whatever, you're welcome to, and it's there. And as part of this thing, I actually get discount on concessions and if I want any merch or anything, so I get that. So cool for me. And also they've got a local brewery, Left Field Brewery, that is there. I've actually had their beers and it's actually very good. And they've also got a restaurant, so you can actually go and get a discount on the beer and the restaurant there if you want to attend that. And I've been there before and it's actually pretty solid. So it's one of those things like, I'm going to take advantage of these perks. As far as I'm concerned, I've already gotten my money's worth out of this pass. But everything I do beyond that is just going to be bonus. And so for me, I'm probably going to take advantage of this. So again, what I said earlier, it's not just a cost thing. It's also a time thing. But if I'm going to give the time, I want to feel like I'm getting my value for it. Because especially if I'm paying for something in addition to it. In this case, I've already paid for it. I've gotten some value out of this to begin with. But being able to go and check out the game and hang out a little bit, I think it's going to be fun. From that perspective. And some of the folks that I saw at this particular event are going to be at the game there as well. So it's going to be a situation where maybe we'll just chat a little bit and it's going to be kind of fun to do that. And it'll be fun for a season. And I may renew that and do it again in future because, again, I do enjoy still the game. Semi-Pro, the Intercounty Baseball League, has got some good baseball. And they've got some names that I recognize. That's going to be part of it. But it's kind of going back to watching the game just to watch the game. And in this case, to top it all off, kind of at the end of this entire thing, when we finished it off, the Jays unfortunately blew it in the 9th inning. That wasn't great, but regardless. I got my way out, headed out. Again, had to deal with the massive humanity and people that can't walk in a straight line, apparently. But I did use the savvy pro move, and I actually didn't take the first train back because people are going to cram themselves like sardines trying to get out of the city on the very first train heading out. So I waited 15 minutes, grabbed myself a drink, sat down, and then grabbed the second one where I was able to get a seat very comfortably, got myself back, and got myself back in time with the 3:07 start time is perfect. Under 3-hour game time, thumbs up, guys. Thumbs up. Love the pitch clock. Good. Under 3-hour watch time, I was able to get home with enough time to make myself something to eat and watch Game 7 of Dallas and Colorado, which was a fantastic game, by the way. But an overall great Saturday of sports. Attended the live game in the afternoon, had myself a fun experience, and then was able to watch my hockey team actually win Game 7, which is fabulous. So overall, good experience from top to bottom, but also reiterated to me why I'm not necessarily investing the time and the money to go and attend an event like this, because even though I enjoyed the experience around it, the event itself, just being there in person at this point, doesn't do much for me. It's one of those cases where, yeah, I'm just kind of thinking about it like the time that I'm investing and the money that it would cost, in this case, obviously I got it subsidized because of the stuff that was covered, wouldn't necessarily be worth it to me anymore. Not the way it once was. So if I'm going to use the time, I'd rather go attend an inter-county baseball game. For me, that would be worth my time, and in this case, much less money. Grab a hot dog, grab a beer, watch the game, enjoy it. And in this case, I will say, though, the upside of this whole thing is that it did give me every incentive I needed to sit down and watch the entirety. I did watch the majority of the game during the course of this. Even with the chatting and everything, I actually was keyed in and watching this game. I watched the entire 9-inning game, and that's the first 9-inning game, regular season, that I've watched literally in years. So it's actually been very funny that it gave me the perfect excuse to do it. And overall, a good experience top to bottom. So anyway, that's it. Storytime with Carlos. Hopefully you enjoyed my blathering on. I had to switch out the battery on this thing. That's how long I was yammering on for. Definitely would recommend it if it was something that was available for something. Take advantage of stuff like that because sometimes it provides a good experience. And in this case, like I hadn't experienced it before. I didn't know what it would entail or what would be available or what would be involved. Took the chance, and in this case, it worked out very nicely. Now that said, it may be a while again before I attend another game, but doesn't mean I won't down the road. But it's just going to be, need to be the right circumstances. That doesn't necessarily have to be the sweet, but it doesn't hurt. I'm just saying. Regardless, though, I think it was a lot of fun. It gave me a good, interesting perspective on it, and I'm looking forward to, again, weather permitting, checking out the inter-county game. So I maybe if I do end up doing that, maybe I'll take a couple pictures from that one. Compare and contrast. Very different attending that kind of game in the venue. You're going to see if I do end up attending and taking some pictures. But if I do, maybe I'll include that in there as well. But I suspect I'll probably enjoy myself just as much because even though this was an interesting experience itself, being bombarded with Minecraft movie ads on a regular basis and having the music blasting at me, not necessarily the most appealing thing, but the rest of it, I think, made up for it, I would say. And definitely had some fun with the game itself, the overall experience, and the conversations and things that came with it. So that's it for this one. You got the pickup video and a very long drawn-out story. So if you made it to the end of the video, here was the question that I wanted to ask you. So kind of a little bit of sideways. Actually, I'll ask you kind of two. One is, thoughts on kind of attending the live experience, if you've done it recently. yourself. I think we've touched on it briefly, but I would love to get your feedback on that if you've done it recently. Is the cost the main factor? Is the time the main factor? Is it both things that maybe motivate you or demotivate you from attending that kind of a thing? This one kind of fell in my lap. It was an opportunity, so I took advantage of it. But regardless, it still led me to the thinking about kind of my rationale and if it would be something that I'd want to do again going forward. And again, well, maybe the Heinz Club 328. Maybe it's sponsored by Heinz. That's exciting. Now, if there was a mayonnaise-based one, just saying, Eric might run across the board to make it happen. So my first question is, where are you sitting as far as kind of live events and your attendance or non-attendance? I think we've touched on it briefly, but I would love to see if anybody else wants to chime in on that. Second question, though, is kind of related to the channel, and that'll be the thing I'll close off on. Obviously, I talked about, already did the pre-sign-off, did it earlier. Still the same. Hit the like button, Eric will pay for it. But obviously with the live stream, we're kind of settled into a bit of a routine, which I don't mind. It's kind of fun. It is the longest running episodic, whatever it is. We don't know what it is. It could be anything, even a boat. But with that said, I do like occasionally to mix things up a little bit, because it can, if it feels like it's getting the same all the time, it gets a little monotonous. One of the things that I would probably like to do is maybe invite a couple more voices into it. It's been nice. Dan from Dan's Vintage Baseball BC has joined us in to kind of chime in on a couple of things, so that's great. But I might kind of start reaching out to some of the old cast of characters just to see if I can mix in and throw some people in there. Because a lot of the topics, even if there is something that comes up, we've kind of talked about some of these things so many times that if you've been paying attention, you kind of know where everybody's going to fall. I try to play devil's advocate in there and add something to it if I can, just to make it a little more interesting. But you kind of know, like, if you ask Bobby a certain question, you're probably going to know what the answer is, even before he said it. If you ask Eric the question, you're probably going to know what he's going to say before he says it. And then speak of his undying love for mayonnaise. These are things you can expect. But it's hard unless the topic is completely different and maybe we haven't thought about it before. It kind of forces us maybe to give a different kind of answer. But a lot of it, we're kind of set in terms of our thought process on it. On the podcast, I enjoy kind of exploring it a little bit differently and maybe forcing a different type of conversation. But on the live stream, once you kind of settle in, it's kind of a relaxed pace to it. If you've watched the live stream, you probably got the sense of that. So things kind of ebb and flow. We'll have different conversations that'll weave in and out, but for any hobby topics, when they do come up, it's kind of settled into a certain pattern. And I'm almost feeling, coming up on, I think, close to 200, episode 240 of the live, getting close to 250. So I almost feel like I kind of want to give it a little bit of a mix-up. So I'd be curious to get your feedback on that. If you had any thoughts on it, or maybe any suggestions of anything that might be worthwhile kind of incorporating into it. With the podcast, I've got a little bit more, it's easier for me, since it's structured, to kind of add in. That's why I'm including pickups and stuff like that sometimes in there, just to offset it. Normally I do this story on there, and maybe I'll talk a little bit about it on there, but I thought it would be fun with the Sunday and everything, just to go over the long story time with Carlos in this format, since I haven't done it like this in a while. Anyway, that's it. Super long video. I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm going to have to edit it down, and let's see where we wind up. Probably still going to be too long. But regardless, already did. More videos coming to the channel. Live stream on Fridays. Like if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much, and we'll catch you in the next one.